Hey there, I'm RJ, and this is my January reading roundup. In the past, I've tried to do YouTube videos, and I've wanted to, and I've made the process too difficult for myself. So my goal is to do minimal editing. I am armed here with my physical books, screenshots of the actual ebooks and things that I read in January, and so there's probably gonna be minimal cuts like that. Probably some mess ups and some misspeaking, and I'm probably gonna clickbait the title something like my controversial January reading roundup, because there is a mildly controversial thing that I did in my roundup that is going to come later, because I'm going to go basically in order, more or less. I think I'm just going to start with my physical books and then we'll move on to the tablets, so it's going to be a little bit mixed up there. I think that's just how I'm going to do it. So first of the physical books was The Importance of Being Earnest and Other Plays by Oscar Wilde. This is a vintage classics book that I got at Indigo like a really long time ago, and I just never read. Really enjoyed it. I started it in December, or potentially earlier than that, and I've just been slowly making my way through the plays. I really enjoyed all of them. I think they're definitely like foundational works, give you a good understanding of different storytelling things, and I am really excited to watch the Importance of Being Earnest pro shot that they're going to put on at the movie theater, so I'm definitely going to be going to do that. So there's going to be a cut there probably. Next one is The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon. I have had this book recommended for years. I've wanted to read this book since probably 2012, 2013, 14, around then, like when I was in high school, so a really long time ago. But I never got around to it. It kind of felt intimidating. It doesn't look too long here. It's about 600 pages. It's pretty long. But I finally found it in a little free library when I was on a walk with one of my friends. Picked it up because it's free. And then I finally got around to it early this year. I decided, because I was having a moment of being really into historical fiction, which you're going to see as a theme, continued on in this month, but also superhero stuff, which is another theme and is going to loop around to the controversial aspect. And yeah, so that's why I thought it would be a great mix. If you know, you know. The book itself largely surrounds two cousins who are making comics at the dawn of the comics genre in the early 1940s, late 1930s. It's really fun and dynamic. It does deal with some heavier themes, but absolutely I recommend it to anyone who's into historical fiction, anyone who just wants to read a really good book, honestly. Because it deals with comics and those sorts of topics, it has a really fun and dynamic reading style, so I've actually found it very, very easy to read. Despite the length, it looks like a lot. Like it does look like a lot in person, but I actually found the writing style very, very dynamic and easy, and I've been debating buying some of his other books. So if you're familiar, which one would you recommend I read next? After that, onto the historical theme, and if you know, you know the superhero one, but I'm not going to get into that. You Should Be So Lucky by Sebastian. I kind of teased this might be a favorite this month, just because I loved We Could Be So Good when I read it last month, to the point where I went and bought both books to own them. I hadn't read this one yet, so I did read this one, and you can kind of tell I'm a bit rough on some of my physical books, and I maybe that's controversial. Really enjoyed this. This is just like a cute romance. It doesn't really shy away from the darker aspects of queer historical romance from kind of the 1960s. It mostly takes place in 1960 exactly. It doesn't shy away from some of the darker aspects. Neither did We Could Be So Good, but fundamentally they're both very fun, cute romances. And I feel like I am talking really quickly because I'm used to trying to not yap so much to get reels posted, because reels and TikToks can only be so long, and so I talk really quickly. Next physical book is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Controversially didn't love this. It pretty much shows up in every like sapphic historical romance recommendation list that you're gonna see, and didn't like it very much. I gave it 3 stars, so I didn't hate it. Didn't love it either. I felt we're not given enough into why Evelyn Hugo has relationships with any of the people that she does, why she likes the people that she professes to like. We're not really given, like, what did they do together? what did they talk about? It's not super clear. And the framing device, I just didn't really care for, honestly. I don't think we ever learned enough about the journalist to really connect with her. And I wrote a very long review of this for my blog, which will be linked below. Next up is Any Old Diamonds by KJ Charles, another historical fiction author that you're going to find on every recommendation list. Again, didn't love this one. It was fun, it was good. Not really for me. There's one more physical book, but I'm currently reading it, so we're gonna skip that. We're gonna leave it. And we're gonna go on to my tablet books. So the first audiobook I read, this was audio, was Tomorrow and Tomorrow Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Again, this, I couldn't help but compare it to The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. If you've read both, or if you've read either, they deal with a lot of the same themes. This one is a pair of friends who are making video games in the 90s and early 2000s. The book kind of goes up to mid 2010s. And it deals with a lot of the same themes. However, this book I felt didn't deal with them as well. Honestly, like, it didn't go into them as deep. It didn't really flesh them out in a way I wanted to, and I didn't really care about either of the characters. So I also have a really long review of this one that's going to be up on my blog, again linked. Next one was, I read the whole Cabot family series. I read 3 of them, actually. I haven't read Daniel Cabot Puts Down Roots. Haven't read that one yet. I'm just gonna show this one. I liked all 3 of the ones I've read. I've read this one, the Peter Cabot and Luke and Billy Finally Get a Clue. Thought they're all cute. They're novellas, they're historical fiction. Again, Sebastian, you're gonna see her on every historical fiction recommendation list. And I'm gonna second that. Definitely deserved. Enjoyed them all. Not too much to say, they're all fairly short, but if you want something, I read all of them in one sitting. So that tells you what it is. Not all at once, 3 different days, but each book individually I read in one sitting. After that, this is where the thing is controversial. I logged each of these as different books, and that's controversial because it's a Batman and Robin comic, volume 1 and issue 1 and issue 2. Now, logging comic books that are only about 25 pages, should you log that as a whole book, including these? I read about 13 books in January. That's pretty good, I think. Without these 11, that's still pretty good. The reason I chose to count them, despite them being only 25 pages, I counted some novellas. The Luke and Billy one is only 25,000 words. If I were to count that, then it makes sense to me to log a single issue comic book. Because at the end of the day, comic books are more than just the words on the page. They're also the images on the page, and you're taking in that information. You're spending time on each page, at least I am, understanding what's going on, looking at all the images individually, really like taking it in to understand what's happening in the comic. That's how I read comics. So to me, it took me probably about half an hour to read the comic because I'm sitting there going through the images. So while it's a very short read, novellas are a short read too. So there's also the aspect, and I did ask some of my friends this, because comics tend to get issued in volumes eventually. So in all likelihood, this comic run will be issued in a volume one day, but there's only 4 issues out right now. So they're not issuing it in a volume anytime soon. Probably not till the run's done, because it's a limited run comic. It's the Batman and Robin Year 1 comic. I'll go back to the first one if you're a fan. I would recommend these because I had fun with both. Yeah, so they're probably going to be issued as a volume eventually, and so someone in a year, 2 years, 3 years, however long it takes, will log it as a single volume and get 1 book towards their reading goal, and I'm going to get probably 12 towards whatever reading goal, maybe this year, maybe next, as I read the issues when they come out. So is that a little bit unfair? Does it make it falsely inflated? Do you think I should adjust my reading goals to account for comics? Let me know your thoughts down below on comic issues if you read them, graphic novels even, that can be 100, 200 pages. What do you think about logging those on Goodreads and counting those towards your goals? I would actually be very curious to have that conversation and know what other people think. Next, this was an audiobook read by the author, The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. That goes about If you recognize the name at all, you know exactly what it's about. It's a memoir. It's really dark. Goes over the 7 Passengers family vlogging channel and what happened there. Definitely not a subject to take lightly, and not one that you should enter blindly. If you're unfamiliar, don't just pick this book up, because it gets into a lot of dark topics, and you should know what you're getting into. Next, this was an advanced reader copy in electronic, what did I forget what E stands for? An e-arc that I got from NetGalley. Haven't posted the review yet. I'm going to post it on February 5th because that's when this book comes out. It was Pure Innocent Fun by Ira Madison III. He's a podcast host of Keep It. I love that podcast. I've been listening to it forever. Definitely would recommend the podcast, and I really enjoyed the essays. I didn't give them 5 stars because I felt I didn't learn a whole lot about Ira from the book, but it was a fun, nostalgic kind of romp through sitcoms, 90s, early 2000s TV, lots of things that I'm into, lots of things that I enjoy, and it was fun on that aspect, but I didn't feel as a memoir and book of essays that it gave me what I necessarily would have wanted. Okay, so since I did have the pictures, I forgot, of the 2 other Cabot books, but I don't really have more to say on them because, like I said, they're both pretty short. Did enjoy them, though. And whenever the library comes in with the Daniel one, I'll read it. But I'm waiting on my library. So, to that effect, what were my favorite books of the month? It's these 2. I loved this book so much. This is definitely going to be a favorite of all time. Like, no question. And this was just too cute to not put on the list. As for currently reading, my dad is loving to see this. I'm reading Dune. I am almost done. Like, none of this is real book. This is not book. This is appendices, and I'm not reading those. So I'm almost done, about 200 pages from it. I'm probably going to finish it tomorrow, so it's going to be my first book on February. But yeah, also I made this little bookmark over Christmas. It's cute. I also went into 2025 with some reading goals. I wanted to max out my audio hours on Spotify, and I did manage that with Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and The House of My Mother. I've also made a start on my February hours because for me the month resets on the 22nd because of whenever I bought premium. I don't remember when. So I think I'm going to read the Sir Patrick Stewart memoir, Making It So, because if you know me, you know I'm a huge Trekkie. So I think that's going to be what I'm going to finish the hours out with. And then if I have any left over, I don't know what I'm going to do there. So I'll let you know. Did I read any books that I already owned and have been meaning to read for a long time? And that's 3. I have owned these books for a while. I've owned this one for at least, that's 7 Husbands. Owned that one for at least 3 years. Same goes for the Oscar Wilde one. And I've owned Cavalier and Clay since last summer. So 3 books that I already owned, therefore didn't spend money on, that I read. And I do want to point out this one was a gift from the same friend who I got this with. So didn't spend money on that, because that's my 3rd goal, is did I spend money on any books? Unfortunately, yes. I spent about $30 on 2 puzzle books that I haven't finished yet. One of them kind of a dud, so I'm probably not going to finish it. It was also the cheaper one, luckily. The more expensive one, I just started doing the puzzles this morning, so probably going to finish that in February, if not in the next couple days, to be honest. I love puzzle books. I love logic puzzles. Myrtle is all over my Bookstagram and my shelves, so that's all fun stuff. Yeah, so I think that's about it. I'm just gonna cut out a couple things from this, hopefully, and post it. Hopefully it won't wig me out too bad, and I'll actually do it. If you look back on my channel, I posted some stuff about Star Trek a couple years ago. I think, honestly, 2 years ago now, which is a little bit embarrassing because technically there's a 3rd video that is filmed and partially edited on my computer that I just haven't gotten around to because it felt too overwhelming and I got a little bit paralyzed about it. So hopefully I've set this up so that I don't have to add anything since I used my tablet for the electronic ones. Nothing fancy. I think I just need to make some cuts because I got interrupted, but that might actually have left it in because now I've referenced it like 3 times. But yeah, so I think that's about it. Hopefully you enjoyed my reading roundup. Let me know what you think about adding comic issues to your Goodreads. What do you do that? Do you read comics? Are you going to be watching Superman 2025 this summer? Everyone in my life is already ready for me to shut up about that movie, and it's not even out yet. But yeah, let me know what you think below. Let me know what your goals are for this year. Do you want to read more of your physical TBR? Because I do. Do you want to spend less money on books? Because I need to, unless I finish my physical TBR. So that's the goal. If I finish it, I can spend as much money as I want. But yeah, leave me below and come back next month for a February wrap up and maybe some more videos between them, hopefully, if I get my life together.